Where is that noise coming from? Oh, there we go. I'm sure you guys heard double. Whoa, hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm feeling very like 90s music, 90s clothing, 90s hair, 90s makeup kind of vibe today. Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Okay. I was actually, let me check my teeth. Okay. I just put my lipstick on and I always get lipstick on my teeth. I was doing some stuff today and I was like in the middle of some stuff and I was doing some stuff. And I was like, I did 2 videos where we uploaded because I wanted to be able to give the normal people their regularly uploaded content. But then I also wanted to do a live tonight because it's Friday night. And I was like, well, I'm bored and I'm still in quarantine. Is anyone else still in quarantine? I've been in quarantine since March of 2020. I have 0 social life right now. So we're going to just do Friday night with friends, I guess is what we're going to call it. Allegedly. And there's a couple different topics I have for you guys tonight. So we are in the middle of a couple stories and they've been ongoing and they've been very long-winded. And there's been a lot of stuff coming out about the Duggars. We've been working very, very, very hard with exposing a lot of the stuff that's been going on in their world, in the IBLP, in the cult. And then there's the Gabby Petito story. There's constantly going to be new additions to this channel. We are getting back into more of my preferred content. I love Friday. I love, what do you call it? I love reality television, but before I covered reality television, when I was just writing still, I did true crime. So getting back into more of my roots, and now that I've figured out how to do more crime content with the algorithm and how to get it figured out on YouTube. When I first started on YouTube like 2 years ago, I did not understand how to do thumbnails. I didn't know how to do titles. I didn't know how to make sure that the content that I was doing was getting monetized. So yeah, now that I'm better at that, I can introduce this stuff again. So welcome every night, everybody. And I hope you guys are having a good day. And tonight, Friday nights with alleged friends. I mean, basically. So I was thinking, before we get into tonight's content, Beverly, thank you for becoming a member. There's been so much of stuff that, I don't address a lot of the drama that happens on YouTube that has nothing to do with me, but it's all about me. That world where people talk about me, but they're not really talking about me. They're talking about this thing that is me, but it's not really me. There's always a lot of rumors going on. And I was thinking about one in particular that I think is kind of weird. And that was that I wasn't going to donate money to the Gabby Petito Foundation, which was always the truth and always was the truth and was always going to happen. And there was also another really terrible rumor where I am accused of lying about the FBI being called and contacted and having police show up at my house related to the Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito story. That happened weeks ago, but it really did happen. And I keep seeing this false narrative on YouTube that I inserted myself into a story for clout when in all reality, somebody called the police and the FBI and said that I had Brian Laundrie in my house. And there's actual police reports that exist for this. It's an actual investigation with the FBI. I wish that never would have happened. I would never, ever want anyone to have police knock on your door and being accused of having some fugitive in your house. I mean, imagine the freakiness of all of that. So I kept seeing all these like really ridiculous tea channels saying that I lied about it. And I sometimes wonder how hard it would be for some of these channels to actually fact check the shit that they put out. You know, I try to do a pretty good job of fact checking the shit that I put out. So if I'm going to put some shit out about someone, I'm probably going to say with all actuality and factuality if something actually happened. And if I'm going to accuse somebody of lying, I better have some damn receipts to prove it other than an assumption, right? So I have zero reason to lie about any of that. And I think it's really stupid that people come up with these stupid ass lies. So that was the one. And then the other one is this, I just want to address this because this is really driving me bonkers. There's a lot of YouTubers covering the Gabby Petito story. And there's a lot of people talking about this story. And there's a lot of people out there doing this story. And for some reason, oh, how cute is this? Someone just sent me this picture from Long Island. Okay, I'm going to show you that in a second. But for some reason, there are a group of trolls that are obsessed with the fact that you can't talk about crime. You can't talk about true crime. You can't have a channel that talks about crime because then you're profiting off of somebody else's trauma. And to which I say the news, that's all the news does. And to which I also say the same people that are mad at me for covering Gabby Petito's case, I'm pretty sure probably watch Sloan. They also probably watch the Dad Challenge podcast. They probably also watch all of these other channels that are also covering Gabby Petito. That Swoop chick, whatever her name is, Swoosh, or I don't even know what her name is. Swoop, Swoosh, I can't remember what her name is. She's been covering it. The true crime people that are covering it. All these channels that are criticizing me are also covering it. So I just want to say something right off the bat. I don't go to your channel and tell you what to cover, and I don't tell you to do with your money what to do. I don't expect anyone to donate money. I don't expect anyone to give back unless they are compelled to give back. It is not you don't get to dictate what creators decide to do or do not do with their money. You don't get to tell a creator what they're going to do or not do on their channel. It's their channel. If you don't like what a creator's doing or you want a story covered, start your own channel, cover the story, right? I'm pretty tired of people showing up on my channel demanding that I donate all the cash that I've made, which, by the way, I would love to know if these other creators that y'all are watching are also donating money. Why does it matter? Has Sloan donated money? I'm pretty sure Sloan has made more views than I have. I mean, is Dad Challenge donating? Does it matter? Does it matter who decides to donate? So I just want to say this. I always plan to donate the money. Always. I was never going to donate 100% of the revenue because that would be ridiculous. This is a job. Also, if you're going to yell at me for donating, I think you need to put your own receipts out and show me what you've donated. Besides criticizing people for not spending the money on what they, instead of criticizing people on how they spend their money, I think you should donate and then put your receipt up, okay? And when I show my receipts, y'all get mad at me because then you say that I'm flaunting that I paid. So I can't win. You're either demanding that I donate, or if I tell you that I've donated, then I'm not being humble. I'm being tacky. I'm being bogus. I'm just the kind of person that puts my money where my mouth is. If I say I'm going to donate money, I'm going to donate money. In the month of October, we have donated $3,000, $1,000 to the Hotline for domestic violence and $2,000 to the Gabby Petito Foundation. If you are compelled to donate and want to make a difference, I think you should donate to the Gabby Petito Foundation. I have put a certain X amount of money and I'm setting aside that specifically for the Gabby Petito Foundation as I'm making it. I actually just got my money from last month yesterday. So if you want to start yelling and screaming about how people do their jobs, make sure you're saving that same energy to all the other creators. So if you're yelling at me, you better be yelling at Sloan. If you're yelling at me, you better be yelling at Dad Challenge. If you're yelling at me, you better be yelling at that popcorn guy, the guy and you better be yelling at JL Morris, and you better be yelling at all the true crime channels that are covering this. All right. So that's for real though, right? Donate what you want to donate, do what you want to do. Don't feel like it's not your job to tell any creators how to run their business. I know, I don't think NBC or Fox donated, to be honest. All right. What's the popcorn guy's name? I don't know, he's got the popcorn channel. You know what I mean? All right. So, Popcorn Planet and Joseph Moore. Yeah. Popcorn Planet has been making tons of money. Joseph Morris has spent more time spreading malicious, fabricated stories about this case than any other YouTuber. I feel like if you're going to get heat on any single YouTuber that has caused the most damage in the story, it is 1000% Joseph Morris. He has spread more conspiracies. He has made up stories. He's the one that made up the story about Brian Laundrie going live. He has made so much money. He has spread so much misinformation. So why aren't you mad at him? I have stuck to the script and stuck to the news and stuck to the facts. Otherwise, it's targeted harassment. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can't win. Okay. Your husband's eating popcorn. Good, good. Okay. So tonight, he's not liked that well. Well, you know, the popcorn guy exposed him. What is his name? Andy. You guys, by the way, I don't have anything against the popcorn guy. I really appreciated the fact that the popcorn guy made this really big video about Joseph and all the crap that Joseph's doing. And he had Riley Lively on. And you guys, Riley has done a ton of good research to basically prove that Joseph Morris lies about everything. So I do wish that. It's a popcorn. We need shirts. Katie's crew. Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh. All right. There I am. Okay. So let's go. The amount we have donated was specifically earmarked because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so it was extremely important that we donate not only to the Gabby Petito Foundation, while we completely support the Petitos and the Schmidts in their goal to help families of, you know, what's going on with them. At this point, their mission statement is not completely clear. So on top of that, I had to make sure that I was also donating to an organization that I knew had resources as we speak right now to help victims. So not only did I want to donate to Gabby, but I wanted to donate to an organization that can make an impact now, which is why I donated to the Hotline, which is the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week hotline for domestic violence people. You can call anytime. It's they have resources, they have education, they can help you develop a safety plan. They have 24-hour-a-day people that you can talk to if you're feeling like you're scared. They suggest that you call versus using their online. If your online is being monitored, using the phone might be safer for you. They can help with putting you in touch with resources, shelters in your area, how to prepare, how to set up bank accounts, finding a way for you to get out of the situation safely. So not only was it important for us to donate not only to the Gabby Petito Foundation, was to ensure that there are also money earmarked for a hotline that can actually help people right now today. So we 100% believe that Gabby Petito's families will have a huge impact with their organization. But I also wanted to make sure that I could give to an organization that was going to go to help today. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, you could save the phone number under that. And then somebody also brought up that I needed to donate to RAIN, which we already donated to RAIN during the SA Awareness Month. So there we go. Okay. You can see oh, yes. Here she goes. All right. Let's get started on Josh Duggar. You guys, the tea is so hot. Do you guys have now that I'm done with my, now that I'm done, and I'm also not commenting on anything that's going on with any people that are being weird online and trying to accuse me of saying things that I didn't say. So I'm not responding to any of that either. So there's going to be no tea. That's why I pay my lawyers. Okay, let's get started. Do you guys got your wine? I got my wine. I'm cue up my haters accusing me of being an alcoholic. All right, let's go. This is actually an awesome quote. It says, "At the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can," which is a cup that is a quote from Frida Kahlo. It has my name on it. My amazing moderator and friend Jessie got this for me. I love Frida Kahlo, but I love this quote about enduring more than we can, because if anyone can endure more than we think we can, it's the Duggar girls. Can we give a round of applause for the Duggar girls? We love them. Okay. So tonight we have to talk about this letter. All right. So remember how I told you about those, like, back in 2007, there was this board on the interwebs, and on the interwebs, this lady named Alice was writing all of the secrets of the Duggars. Do you remember the Alice stuff? Because if you don't, I actually found the Alice stuff, and I want to talk with you about that, because I'm going to use Alice as a source, but I also want to add on to Alice's recollection and share with you some new information I've just learned. And I just want you guys to know that I have multiple people that come forward all the time that have information on the Duggars, the IBLP. I actually put out a post yesterday. Oh, before we get started, I want to show you this. This actually just came into me via email. It is someone from out in Long Island. They sent me an email and said that they were in Blue Point today, and she said that they stopped by the Gabby's mural and they took a picture and thought of you. And here it is. Thank you so much for your hard work. Keep up. Ignore the haters. You're doing a great job. And that comes from Monica. So Monica was in Northport and she shared a photo of the mural. So isn't that so sweet? I love that. All right. It's gorgeous. Thank you, Monica, for that email. It's gorgeous. All right. So last night I was like feeling really feisty, because I always feel like people want to expect me to be like the really sweet girl. And I'm not the sweet girl. Like, y'all know, if you hang out with me long enough, that I'm going to be so nice to you, but I have zero time for idiots. And so I was getting so annoyed, and I wrote this, and I just wanted to share with you, because then we're going to get into the tea. So it says full stop. And I said, I'm a human being. I get to cover what I want on my platform. Don't tell me how to run my business. If you want a topic covered, start your own business and cover the story. Stop guilting me to cover stories stop guilting me to cover stories that I either don't cover or don't have time to cover. If you haven't noticed, I'm extremely busy trying to dismantle an abusive cult. Can I get a cheers? Who wants to dismantle the IBLP? and the IFB, me. So that's what I'm busy working on while you guys are bitching and complaining. All right. Sometimes I talk about other things. This is my platform, not yours. I don't tell you how to run your social media, so don't tell me how to run mine. I curse. I drink wine. I pop off when I get annoyed. I call you out if you're an asshole on a live. I'll tell you to quit if you're being an idiot. That's me. If you came to me because you thought I was the nice girl, I'm not. Nice girls don't go up against narcissists and try to take down cults. Okay? It takes hella guts to be a woman and to go up against a patriarchal cult. Can I get an amen? So stop acting outraged that I was rude or mean. Maybe you should stop being a jerk to me and I'll be nice to you. All right. That's my, I'm just too busy tearing down this cult. Okay. So full stop just means like, I don't know, somebody was getting real snarky and they're all like, full stop. Full stop. I was like, shut up. That's so dumb. Okay. Well, Aaron, I don't know what you mean, what I'm about to go up against. I've been going up against this cult for years. So this isn't new. Me going up against this cult is not new. If you're new to this channel, it might be new to you, but we've been dismantling this cult and exposing it for over 2 years, and I've been reading about it, right? You said what you said. Yes, exactly. Okay. Exactly. Years, sis. It's not new. Exactly. Okay. We've been doing this for years. All right. So let's talk about the Josh Duggar situation. I want to show you. Thank you to Monica who sent that a beautiful email. I'm so glad to see that mural. It makes me a little bit happier tonight to see Gabby's beautiful face memorialized in such a touching way on that mural. Okay. Let me see. Let's get this live because I want to remind you guys about Alice. So Alice was this lady friend of the Duggars who went to church with them and apparently was really ticked off at the Duggars when they started becoming famous because they were hiding a secret. So if you look at the date on here, this is from May 22nd, 2007. Okay. And she says, Michelle hasn't cooked a meal in years, hasn't cleaned a house in years. All she does is look normal for looks normal for the TV cameras. Get real. This couple is out for fame and money, and that any way that they can get it. They receive love offerings from all over the country. They have church services in their home. When it's to their advantage, they get paid for that. So they say that, check this out. I don't want to talk about the stuff that she says about Mary because Mary's passed away, but it says this. In January, the whole family went to Chicago and taped Oprah Winfrey. Oprah wined and dined them for 1 week, for 1 week. She probably didn't wine and dine them, but anyways, you know what I mean? For 1 week. You know that they had cost some pretty pennies. As you may have noticed, the show never aired and it never will. Oprah was informed that Josh, the oldest son, had been molesting his sisters. Yes, this is the truth. Oprah turned them over to the Arkansas State Police, Child Protection Agency, and the Washington County Child Protection Agency. This has been investigated to some length. Jim Bob Duggar told the producers of the show that he had built a small church out the back for his followers. His followers. Get real. This man is a fraud. In April, they were in court with their story. They have to report to the Arkansas Department of Human Services every 6 months. They have lied and lied about their son to protect him at their daughter's expense. For some reason, unbeknownst to us, the boy is still in the home with the girls. God only knows if this is still going on. In my eyes, He is a child molester and he should be removed from the home. What kind of parents cover up for one child and hurt the others? I do not believe that this is what God has in mind for them, frauding the American people and taking their money and living off of it. They did not build their home by themselves. They hired to have it done. So they say that TLC hands over a check to help them finish the house. Everything inside was given to them except the kitchen. The rest was all free. Mary and Josh were on the phone day and night asking for donations from soup to computers. They received a baby grand piano from Campbell Soup. Their trip to California was provided for by TV stations. It was mapped out mile for mile. They did not want to spend a penny of their money. All their groceries and gas and lodging and clothing was paid for in advance. For someone who wants to be famous, why lie about the facts? Seems funny to me. They are professional liars, both of them. They twist their words to make them look good, and they look like devoted parents and a great big happy family. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you don't believe me, contact the Arkansas State Police Child Protection Agency in Bentonville, Arkansas, and Washington County. It will be worth the time and effort to read about it. There's a lot more that I could go into, but I simply do not have that much time. And I think it's time that the Duggars are stopped. So if you see this, and this is from 2007, we have covered this before on my channel. So this is not brand new. I am bringing this up because I was able to corroborate a couple things in the stories, okay? But like here she says, it happened to 4 of the 5 sisters. Now, mind you, this is a 2007, before 2015, before anyone allegedly knew about this. Everyone in Northwest Arkansas knew that this was going on because the Duggars admitted to it. He admitted to Oprah. Okay, we're going to get into that in a second. It says the second daughter is the one who caught him doing this, which is Jill. There's no rape involved, but molested. I could go into detail, but I won't. Of course, you can find nothing about the charges. The Duggars want to keep this hid, wouldn't you? They wouldn't have things that they do if they've gotten out earlier. That's the way they make their living and travel and our expenses. Whoops. Why isn't it? How do I get this Zoom? Okay. They call their son Precious Josh, and in their eyes, he can do nothing wrong. What about the girls? I think that everyone should know about the problem and that the Duggars are frauds. They make the talk shows under the impression that they are pure and receive love offerings from viewers. He has got it figured out how to be famous and make a living for his brood and not have to go to work to get it. She says she's been in their home. She said, for some reason, I didn't trust Jim Bob. The truth came out about his son. He is the one that told what happened. Josh got up in front of the church and asked for forgiveness and all that stuff, but he was secretly still up to no good. I really don't know how long it had been going on before it came out, but even after it did, Josh pretended to be the sweet all-American boy who loved his family. All the time he was going on porno sites on the internet and watching that filth that it has. The temptation was too much, and then he explored with his sisters. I know the person that contacted Oprah and told her what the family is not as pure as they seem. They were taking Oprah, the Discovery Health channel, TLC channel, and everyone else that they had appeared on a big ride. They received money for each show, and if not money, they got something out of it. Jim Bob has made a statement that this is the way that he provides for his family. Don't you think that that is being a fraud? If not, please explain to me what is the difference. You know that when you go on the shows that they lie, and the more that the exposure they have, the more money that comes to him. It was Oprah's decision to turn them over to the authorities. Oprah is not the only one that has turned them for child abuse. Of course, you can't find the records of this. It's all sealed behind closed doors. The truth needs to be told, and I have made it my mission to stop this from happening. They are frauds. They're living off the good graces of other people. I've watched them on the Montel Williams show, and I wanted to throw up. It made me sick inside to know what I know and to watch them in front of the TV and the camera and lie. So all of that was out in 2007, okay? That was written in 2007, May of 2007, okay? So here's the thing. Here's the problem with the girls' lawsuit. On the internet, it was already out on 2007 on the internet. It was on boards. It was on Free Ginger. It was on Reddit. It was on all of these sites talking about what Josh has done way before the police report was ever released, because people knew what happened. Their friends at church knew what was going on. It was ridiculous. Okay. So you removed Free Ginger. Okay. So thank you for your super sticker. Okay. So this came out in 2007. So since 2006 and 2007, there has been a group of people who have been trying to stop the Duggars, that have been trying to have anyone that can hear them and listen to them and see what they're saying, who were at the church, explain and have people hear them. If you guys haven't listened to the podcast that Justin put out, I can't remember what the name of the podcast is, but his name is Justin. He went to the same church. He talked about this on the podcast, everything that happened with Josh, what Josh explained at the church, how Josh stood up in front of the church and confessed to what he had done. So what I got information about today was a lot of the things that have been, I pray you'd put this journal away. Yes, that's what it's called. So his name is Justin, and I actually confirmed who he was with someone, and they let me know who their dad was and like what they do. And like, he was like, it helped me because I was actually able to verify that Justin was at that church. You know, like a lot of people will talk and say stuff and you just don't know if it's authentic, but he's a real person. He was who he said he was. He was definitely there, and he was part of a group of people that knew these things about Josh for years and years and years. So before Anna, he was betrothed, set up into a marriage with a girl named Kaylee Holt. Kaylee Holt is the daughter of a man named Jim Holt. Jim Holt ran for Senate. He was a politician, and he also was in the IBLP world. He was Jim Bob Duggar's best friend, and their families were extremely close. In 2002 and 2003, Josh Duggar does the thing to three of the sisters, okay? The Duggars tell no one. So in 2002, 2003, the Duggars don't tell anyone about what happened. They don't do anything. Nobody at church knows. It's kept a huge secret to everyone. All of the church members that have kids have no clue what Josh has done. They're not given a heads up by the Duggars, allegedly. And the girls are never given any sort of help by anyone because the Duggars don't report it, don't talk about it, don't tell anyone about it, don't contact the police, nothing. So after Josh was, for a period of time, sent away to this alert training camp in 2002 and 2003. And then after he came home, Jim Bob and Jim Holt decided that they were going to set up Josh and Kaylee. And they were going to arrange them in a marriage, even though they were only 14 years old. So the two kids were arranged in a marriage, even though neither one of them were actually legal age. It was going to be a long betrothal. clearly. And so once this happened, Kaylee decided to become friends with the Duggars. So Kaylee becomes friends with the Duggars and becomes friends with the Duggar sisters. And nobody at this point knows about anything. The Duggar sisters don't have a lot of access to a lot of people. They don't have a lot of friends outside of the home. They haven't had any resources provided to them, given everything that's happened to them. And they confide in Kaylee. And they tell Kaylee what happened. Okay? So Kaylee finds out that Josh has done horrific things. Horrific things. Okay? So Josh and Kaylee are betrothed. Then he does something to he does right before he gets with Kaylee, he does something to Joanna. And then he and Kaylee are set up. They do not tell the Holts, allegedly, any of the information. Kaylee then is like Josh's girlfriend. And Kaylee becomes close with the sisters, who then confide into Kaylee about what Josh has done to them. Kaylee then writes a letter because she finds out what Josh has done and she doesn't want to be with him. She's outraged. He lied to her. They've been lied to. The Duggars lied to the Holts. They did not tell people what he had done. Kaylee was not wanting to be associated with this. She felt like they had fraudulently set her up with this guy that was not honest. So she writes this letter and she puts the letter into a book. Okay? So Kaylee Holt writes the letter and she puts the book and she puts the letter into the book. Okay? So Kaylee doesn't remember, wasn't using this letter and didn't really plan that anyone would see the letter. It was more like something that she was just writing, almost like a journal, to herself. And she had been using the letter as a bookmark. Apparently, a new member joins the church, okay? And this woman that joins the church, Kaylee decides to loan her this book. The book is apparently about how to be a godly wife, how to be like the helpmeet. And then the woman that gets the book, while she's reading the book, finds the letter and sees what Kaylee had written about Josh. And that woman, who is not identified, confronted Jim Bob. So they went to a church where women were not allowed to speak in church. They were not allowed to have a voice. But this woman finds the letter, and she herself, the woman that found the letter, happened to be a victim of CSA. Her grandfather had done that to her as a child, and her parents and her mom never reported it to police and never protected her from her grandfather or her uncle. I can't remember who it was. And so this woman didn't want that to happen to the girls. So she allegedly confronted Jim Bob about the letter and showed him the letter and asked him if it was true. And Jim Bob admitted to the woman, Kaylee Holt wrote the letter. So, and the letter information has been out there forever. Like, this letter has been a big story for years. So they've never, the letter is mythical. But I want to say that I confirmed that it was Kaylee that wrote the letter with 3 people. So the woman confronts Jim Bob and asks him about what Josh has done. And allegedly, Jim Bob says, yes, this happened. And she, at that point, is furious. And she wants Jim Bob to tell the church. And that is what prompts Jim Bob then to confess to the church about what Josh had done. So once Jim Bob confesses to the church, then Josh goes up to the church and tells them this. But even then, they minimize it and they make it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. All the while, the girls are seen at church emotional, often crying. And Jim Bob, at this point, still hasn't done anything to help his daughters. So this is where the Oprah stuff comes in, because it all happens at the same time. So after this woman confronts Jim Bob and the church finds out and the Holts find out, the relationship between Kaylee and Josh is broken off. Jim Bob and Jim Holt's relationship ends up getting a little bit sour, if you can understand. Several people at the church are allegedly outraged and feel like they've been misled, that their children have been put in a dangerous situation because the whole time this was happening, Josh is running around with all these kids and they don't know what he might have done. So, yeah, Jim Bob knew. He knew, he just hadn't told anyone. So once that happens, someone from the church then reports them to the police. So someone from the church reports them to the police, does through the tip line. That same person also, I think, reaches out to Oprah. So they contact the police and they file a report after Jim Bob confesses in front of the church. Then they're also trying to go on Oprah. And while they're in Chicago, they contact Oprah via anonymous. Now, in the original report, the person at church referenced that letter. So that letter was their reason for contacting. They said, oh, well, we got this letter. If you go back onto In Touch and you look at the old police reports, it talks about this letter. I'm not going to put the letter up because I'm just trying not to keep resharing this police report, because at this point everyone has seen it and it's out there. But that police report references this letter. So then Oprah gets an email from another person from church telling them about the letter, telling them about what Jim Bob had admitted at church. And so while they were in Chicago, before they reported Jim Bob to the police, Oprah's legal team allegedly contacts Jim Bob and says to him, we've received a tip, an anonymous tip, that you and your son was doing these things to your daughters. And we want to know if this is true or not. We want to know if you've done this, if this is what's happening. And when confronted by Oprah's legal team, Jim Bob allegedly admits that this is true. So when Jim Bob is found out by Oprah, Oprah then decides that, and he admits it to her, then they're not shown on the Oprah show. The same group of people also contact TLC, Discovery, and all the other networks, and none of them do anything about it. So Oprah, after Jim Bob allegedly confesses to them, Oprah's legal then files a report with the Washington County tip line and the state of Arkansas. And that's what initiates the investigation into Josh Duggar in 2006. So Anna was not told everything. Alyssa says the fact that Jim Bob did nothing for his girls disgusting interviews. He definitely proved that they were beneath Josh in his eyes and not worthy. I wonder if he thinks God is all in. So, first of all, I want to say this. None of the information that I'm telling you is new. None of this is brand new information. The only thing that's new is that Kaylee Holt is the person who wrote the letter, okay? Kaylee was confided by the sisters. So here's where I want to circle back to this. If the girls hadn't told someone outside of their family, this secret never would have become public. If the girls never would have confessed what was happening to them to someone that they trusted, nothing would have been done. Jim Bob would likely never have told anyone. He never would have told anyone at the church. He never would have done anything to stop the problem. He never would have intervened to help his daughters. The only reason that he ended up helping his daughters and helping them was because one of their daughters, or two of them, told a friend who then wrote a letter, and that letter was found accidentally by a woman that happened to be a victim as well. So it would still be a secret, correct? His behavior would have escalated with the sisters if Kaylee had not written the letter. So Kaylee was not the fifth person. So a lot of people have said, is Kaylee the fifth person? No. Was Amy the fifth person? No. The fifth victim has never been identified. They'll never be identified publicly. They don't want to be identified. So I don't know the fifth person's identity, but I know that it wasn't any of those people. And I know they don't want to be identified. So I don't even try to speculate who the fifth person was. Yes, the cult does not believe. Thank you, Donna, for becoming a member. So when all of this came out at the church, people were furious because they apparently felt like Jim Bob and Michelle were lying to them. They were afraid that their daughters were at risk around Josh. They felt like Josh's behavior was questionable. There was complaints by others about Josh's behavior that they didn't agree with. And instead of taking care of the girls, going through the investigation, while this all happens, while they're going through the Department of Human Services, social services, CPS stuff, where they have to check in every 6 months. You know how the Duggars said that they had to work with social services, and they said that like everything was totally fine, and they said that they were model parents. It wasn't like this one and done thing. The investigation happened, and then they were in the system for a while, providing services to the girls. So they did get some services, not a lot, but they did get minimal services. But the thing is they wouldn't have had any services if someone from the church hadn't found the letter, if Kaylee hadn't written the letter, and if one of the girls hadn't confessed to Kaylee. So it's aggravating that after Oprah finds out, after Oprah reports them to police, and after all of that, and even after people report it to TLC and Discovery still give them a show. It's pretty crazy. Now, I'm comfortable sharing all of this because this is all out there already, okay? So outside of that, Jim Bob has a huge fight with the church. So because they find out, and Jim Bob has basically withheld this information, this is sort of the beginning of the perpetuation of the fraud. Jim Bob is more concerned with the followers, the fame, and the money, and the opportunity to get money for his family than he was about taking care of the drama that was happening in his house. And by drama, I mean serious crimes, managing what was going on with his daughters, taking care of his son, and instead wanted to go on to national television. My tones are going off, firefighter. I'll watch when I get back. I love your reporting. Thank you, Katie. Love you, Kiko. Be safe. We love Kiko. Be safe out there as a firefighter. We love you. I think Oprah did the best she could as well. And I think Oprah did what she should have been doing. I think Oprah was probably one of the only agencies or outlets with integrity in this case. Oprah is a victim of the same crimes. And I think when Oprah probably found out, she probably felt like the woman that found the letter. You don't mess with a survivor. And if Oprah has done Oprah's given us some really bad people, like she's amplified, like Dr. Phil and stuff, but Oprah has also done a lot for victims. And one thing that Oprah has always, always, always advocated for is for victims of child SA and SA. So Oprah's not going to tolerate that bullcrap. The cult blames women. The men blame women when they screw up, and they blame game cult. Correct. Okay. So somehow they get the show, but as they're getting the show, this is all happening, right? So the Oprah reports them to the police. Discovery wants to start them at the show. And the church is furious because Jim Bob is like, talks to the church about wanting to do the show. And the church is like, the elders are like, this is a horrible idea. Why would you go on the show? You should not go on the show. You are going to put your daughters in harm's way. Your son is your son has done things to people. How are you going to are you going to lie about what he's done? Are you just going to omit that? Your family is in complete disarray. Why are you trying to go on to TV? This is a bad idea. The reports could end up getting out for the girls. You're exposing the girls by putting them in a situation where you're putting them on national television. And so Jim Bob and Michelle did not like that, I guess. And instead they decided to go on the show, blow up the church, and take all of their friends from the church with them. So the people that spoke up against the Duggars were cut off from them. And then only the friends that would allow them and enable them to go on the show stayed with them. Allegedly. Thank you, Carmen. I just wanted to puke when I think about him calling her a tattletale. Correct. Me too. Yes, there was a girl named Kaylee Holt that was promised to Josh. Okay. So this is the thing about this church, though. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this is how this church community was. So this church was a small church that believed in confessing your sins in front of the congregation. So if a man had stumbled and looked at the P word, or if, there was some transgression, the guy would go up there and he would admit what he did, and all the other guys would be like, it's okay, God forgives you. Women were not allowed to talk, so women would go and stand up next to their husbands who were admitting like they're cheating on their wives, and all the guys are like, high five, you admitted it, it's great. Now that you've admitted it, you're clean, So, yes. That's kind of what happened there. So what's happening right now for many of these church members that were there back in 2006, it's almost like karmatic intervention now. So a lot of these people that were there way back then are watching what they couldn't stop then, and they're hoping it will stop now. So Jim Bob, every place he goes, has minimized what Josh has done, but it's not because for any other reason that it would interfere with his ability to make money, be in politics, and have the life that he wanted to have. So instead of dealing with Josh, being honest about what Josh had done, he went onto TV, perpetuated a fraud. I mean, is it not fraud to go on national television, espouse your Christian beliefs, claim your purity, and you have a son that's done this to your daughters? Is that not fraud? That's the ultimate fraud. The weird thing is that TLC canned the, what's it called? The Willis family, but they didn't can the Duggars. It's, they initially deleted the show for a minute, but anyways. Now, next, Anna Duggar. There's been a lot of speculation, which was Anna disclosed about what Josh had done. Absolutely no one I've spoken to definitively believes that Anna knew anything of the sort. They believe that much like what happened with Kaylee, it was minimized, it was washed over, it was made to seem like not a big deal. So Anna didn't, even though Anna will say that she was given all the information, nobody that's around the Duggars during that time believes that that's the truth. They believe that Anna did not have all of the information and she was like Kaylee. But by the time they got married, what are you going to do? She didn't know the full story. Okay. I don't know when the baby's due. Anna's not talking to anyone. Anna was for sure told a version that was minimized. So even when he goes up on Fox News, Jim Bob minimizes again what happens. No one from church believes the stories that Jim Bob told about how it was only this, it was only that, it was this, or it was, no one believes that. But Jim Bob was more concerned about fame, money. He grew up poor. Did you know Jim Bob grew up living in a hotel? Did you know that? I actually found this in his book. They were evicted from a house. His dad spent time in prison. This is from a chapter of their book, and it's called 20 Duggars and Counting, okay? And I'm just going to read this to you, and I want to give you an understanding of what could have motivated him. In my earliest years, Dad, Mom, and my older sister Deanna and I lived in a little motel that my parents managed in Northwest Arkansas. Later, Dad also tried several other ways to support his young family, including selling vacuum cleaners, insurance, furniture, and automobiles. He was an enthusiastic salesman. Folks said he could sell ice to Eskimos, but he would be the first to tell you that despite his gift for selling, he wasn't the best manager of the money that came in, which caused many insecurities. When I was in grade school, both of my parents, Jim and Mary Duggar, worked in the real estate business, carrying on tradition that began with my great-grandfather. My parents worked hard, but despite their best efforts, they had many financial struggles. Interest rates skyrocketed and real estate sales slowed. My childhood memories were colored by vignettes of financial agonies. I remember a morning when my sister and I came to breakfast and there was nothing to eat in the house except some rice Mom had put in an antique jar for decorations years earlier. That morning, she cooked the old rice for our breakfast. She told Deanna and me that God would see us through anything in life threw at us, and he always did. One time, I was in second grade, and again, we had no money. We did have a Volkswagen camper van that Dad put up for sale. When I heard that some people were coming over to look at the camper van, I prayed as hard as I knew how that he would buy it, and they did, and I spent the night thanking God for his help. Throughout my growing up years, Dad bought and sold used cars as a sideline business. Usually it was just one or two cars he and Mom drove as their regular transportation, and they parked in our driveway with a for sale sign in the window. One time, Dad spent all of the money he had, about $450, to buy a car he planned to fix up and sell for profit. I remember coming home from school and seeing the car, a Plymouth Fury, sitting in the driveway as usual, but there was something different about it than when I left that morning. Finally, I realized the difference was that the windows were dark, as though they had been given extra heavy tinting. The car had been burned. It blew up in a fire. So his dad lost all of their savings on a car that burnt. They get evicted multiple times during his childhood. His dad goes to prison for fraud. His dad is accused of running a fraud scheme with his used car business. So for Jim Bob, when you grow up poor and when you grow up with insecurity like that, and then you grow up with a father that was not always around, not very good with money, went to prison, ran a fraud scheme. He grew up around fraud. He also grew up around poverty, and he didn't want to be poor. And sometimes when you grow up like that, you'll do everything in your power not to be like that. That doesn't mean that every single person that grows up in poverty that ends up making money does it in a way that's illegal or without morals or ethics. But in the case of Jim Bob, it seems as though he felt so much shame, and that really molded him in a position that he never wanted to be like that. Then he ends up going to a seminar called Financial Freedom, which teaches he and Michelle how to manage their money and live debt-free. The seminar is attached to the Institute in Basic Life Principles, and suddenly they are enmeshed in the IBLP, and he is trying to get everyone to go to the seminar with him because it's changed his and Michelle's life. And as he gets more involved in the seminar and he gets more involved in this group, he starts to amass a following of people. And over time, he starts gaining like his own sense of like his followers, like the person said, like Alice said. I never said that that's what poverty means. First of all, I'm not saying that that's what poverty means. I'm saying this is something that impacted him. Then he joins the IBLP, goes through the seminars, gets into this cult, and here we are today. Dauntless says the seminar changes everyone's life. I'm just telling you the steps of what happened. The cult then teaches you that women are property, that men can do whatever they want to women. They don't advocate that you use any forms of birth control. You are supposed to live, you're supposed to multiply and be fruitful. You are to use corporal punishment. Women cannot say no to their husbands if they want to have the stuff. Women are always to blame for everything. Victims are always to blame for everything. And it starts to become this warped sense of ownership of women where the men have unchecked amounts of power And then Jim and his friends start churches that basically just watch seminar videos. So even though they have their churches, they're really just in the IBLP. So they're almost using like the church to like be in the IBLP in the church. And their whole life becomes this cult. And the cult is a sex cult. And the sex cult has no consequences for the man that does something to a woman. And so Josh then exists in a world where he's taught that anything that he did to his sisters is the fault of the sisters. And the sisters are taught that they must apologize to the man that did this to them and forgive him. And they're taught that what he did to them makes them mightier for God, and that they are going to have a mighty spirit, and that it's God teaching them a lesson. So all of this is sort of like, at one point in time, Jim Bob was not someone in a cult. He was just a kid that grew up in poverty that didn't want to be poor. And then he joined a cult because he learned how to be financially independent. And then he got power, he got prestige, and he got a worldview that reinforced his need to be in control. And that's where we are today. And so Josh being found guilty will ruin his whole worldview. If you want to know why Jim Bob protects Josh, it's not just about the money. It's about the mission, or about his the ministry. Jim Bob is now, at this point in time, because Bill Gothard has been ousted, Jim Bob is the most influential member of the Institute in Basic Life Principles. Jim Bob Duggar has used his show on TLC and his social media platform to promote for the Institute in Basic Life Principles. He and Michelle have been able to fill up conferences across the country. They've been able to recruit new members. They've been able to bring people in and fill up seats, which brings money to the ministry. And if Josh is convicted, it's another stain on the IBLP, because Jim is the most influential person in the IBLP right now. Bill Gothard was already ousted because he was accused by multiple children when they were kids of SA or SA harassment. I didn't compare fraud to what Josh has done. I never said that. So I'm not sure where that's even coming from. The fraud that was perpetuated was the lies that they told about what Josh had done to other people to maintain their image, to stay in good standing in the ministry, to recruit new followers into their ministry, for Jim to get intoxicated on the power and the influence. And then as the show grows, all of these groupies start moving to Northwest Arkansas to live by the Duggars. So all of these weird fundamentalist people decide that they're going to move to Northwest Arkansas because they want to be where the Duggars are. They want to go to the Duggars church. They want to be around the Duggars. And so the Duggar groupies start. And the Duggar groupies are all in the church. They're all of Jim Bob's friends. All the people around him are people that worship him and listen to him and go by everything that he says. He has more money, more influence. He's politically connected. He gives money to campaigns. If there's a campaign that needs help, he's got a bevy of people that can help him campaign for people. He has friends in politics that can help him get out of a jam if something happens with Josh. So Jim Bob has a lot to lose if Josh is convicted, which is why he's going balls to the wall, allegedly, by paying for the defense, not allowing Jim Bob to, or Josh to plead guilty, because he believes that a guilty plea will ruin everything. And he somehow has deluded himself to believe that Josh didn't do this, or he's minimized himself to believe that Josh is not involved in this. Bill Gothard was accused of 35 plus women when they were in their early teens up through the age of 25. Gothard never married with a bunch of very young girls as assistants. Thank you, Margaret. This is true. Call it what you really need to know about the IBLP. It's true. So the IBLP's numbers are dwindling, but Jim Bob and Michelle are still powerful in this group. And it's interesting. Oh, John was talking to Josh. Okay. It's a federal case. This is the way it sounds like that Jim Jones cult. He grew up poor, then he gained power over the people, did anything he wanted. Yeah. So, yeah, the IBLP is a shadow of what it once was, but the IBLP beliefs and the toxicness that they espouse has permeated a lot of the independent Baptist churches. And so a lot of churches have the same beliefs, even though they're not necessarily like in the IBLP. There's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of independent Baptist churches that even though they're not IBLP, they still have a lot of the same toxic beliefs about women. It's much bigger than protecting Josh. It's about maintaining his status in the cult. It's about maintaining his status in the cult. It's about maintaining his power, his influence, money. There's a lot of reasons why he protects Josh. So it's a lot. I'm an expert on IBLP. I grew up in it and on ATI Church. I have a podcast on the IBLP. She does. We have a lot of former members that follow this. It's not even that Deanna has secrets. It's just that Deanna has the truth. That's it. It's not about secrets. It's just life. If you ever talk to Deanna or Amy, they have a life. They're not shy about their life. They don't lie about their life. They don't cover up the messy parts of their life. It's just life. They're not concerned about looking perfect. Okay. This is what we have. The trial starts on November 30th. Hold on a second. Whew. I'm hot. So hot. Okay. So, any final thoughts that we have about Josh Duggar, the Duggar family, and what they're up to here? Any final thoughts that anyone has here? We have so much more that we can cover, obviously. But the moral of the story is that there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to expose. Even though the IBLP is a fraction of what it once was, there's still a lot of people in it. Even though there's a fraction of what it once was, the beliefs are still part of the IFB. So it's not just the IBLP, it's the IFB. There's a lot of problems. And it's widespread. It's a world where women have no power. It's very Handmaid's Tale. So I don't think any laws are going to change. No, because his trial has literally nothing to do with laws. I am not going to the trial. I don't think there's even a market for a tell-all book, and I don't think anyone cares about what Jim, Bob, and Michelle have to say. So I don't know anything about the birth. I don't want to talk about like these silly questions about that. Like right now, I'm focused on the trial. I don't know any details about Anna. I feel like I've told you guys so many times that I don't know what's going on with Anna. I can't tell you guys any which way if she's had the baby, if Josh is going to be able to go to the hospital. I don't know. All right. Nobody knows because nobody's talking to Anna. Anna's not talking to anyone, I should say. All right. Josh is going to go to prison. Like, I know a lot of you guys are afraid and scared. He's not getting out of this. I've been confident this whole time. Everything that's happened in this trial, I've predicted. I have zero concerns that he's going to prison. Zero. I'm not irritated. You didn't just get here. If you just got here, then you missed the whole thing we've been talking about, T. Stevens. So you just got here and you're probably... All right. No, I'm saying that I don't know anything about Anna, so I can't answer questions about Anna. And really, to me, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about Anna right now. We're talking about the issues with the IBLP. We're talking about the issues with this trial. We're not talking about Anna. We're not talking about what's going on with Anna. We're not talking about the baby. That is not what I'm talking about tonight. It's not, I'm not here for the gossip. I'm not here for the tea around that. Tonight, we are very focused specifically on the cover-ups, the fraud, what's happened, how this became such a big issue. I don't want to talk about the gossip. I want to talk about the facts of what has happened. I want to talk about where this has gone, how it got to get to this point. But all that other stuff to me doesn't matter right now. I hope you guys understand. So this is sort of where we're at. And I think any sort of speculation about what's going to happen with Anna is going to be speculation. We don't know. We don't know. Literally every single person, that I talk to believes that she'll stay with him. No one I've talked to in any of the circles believes she'll divorce him ever. So that's what we have today. Okay. Again, I'm not gonna, so we're done with the Josh stuff, and I'm gonna go on to the Brian Laundrie stuff, which is like super intense. So if you guys want to join, if someone wants to join, if Dauntless wants to pop on and share, I know she's in the chat. She's from this cult. If anyone is from the cult that wants to join and share their opinions, this is open. But while I'm doing that, all right. Here's the invite, Dauntless. Let's talk about Josh's hairline. Oh, that's not you. You're not Debbie. That's not you. Kathleen. Bella. She's got no microphone. Kathleen, I'm waiting for you. Hello, Debbie. Do you have your microphone on? Debbie did not want to be here. Okay. Where is Dauntless? I know Dauntless's name is not Debbie. No problem, Bella. Debbie was not muted. Her microphone was not muted on my end. Who's Pam? Hello, Pam. Hello, Pam.
Yes.
What's up, Pam?
Not much. I just joined your channel tonight. I've been watching for a long time, but I finally joined the chats and stuff, and I've been watching you on chat.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Did you have something to offer?
No, I just wanted to see what else you were going to talk about the Laundrie case.
Oh, I'm coming up on that right now. I was actually waiting for Dauntless, but I'm going to remove you right now. I'm waiting for her. I want to say thank you so much for joining. We're happy to have you here. Okay?
I'm happy to have joined.
Yes, we're so glad to have you here, Pam. Okay. I don't know. Dauntless is just not there. This is weird. Okay. There are no conjugal visits in federal prison. Okay. All right. So Brian Laundrie's attorney No. Debbie. We're done. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi.
No. Hello. Debbie.
Hi.
What's up? We're done. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm right here. Why isn't
Hello.
it showing?
Debbie.
Hi.
What's up?
Can you hear me?
All right. This is a mess right now. I was trying to get Dauntless on here, but she's not, for some reason, getting up here. So we're going to move on to the stuff related to the Laundries. So there was a bunch of interviews last night, and one of them was on NBC, you guys. And the one on NBC was ridiculous. There she is.
Hi.
Finally. Okay. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, it took me forever.
No, that's okay. So what are your thoughts on the information I shared tonight?
Yeah, I think that Well, as always, you have a really great take on everything for someone who comes from the outside. It always kind of amazes me that you are able to get your mind wrapped around things so well.
Well, it's been years we've been covering this, so I hope so.
I know, because there are so many people who are just like, my husband and I have been together for almost 6 years, and he's still like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But
it's like Handmaid's Tale, man.
Oh, no kidding. He still cannot watch or read that because he associates me too much with it, and he goes, nope, can't do it. But yeah, I think it was really good, and I think that the biggest things are some of the questions that I was picking up in the chat that you weren't. Was just, I do want to reiterate that no, Bill Gothard is not running IBLP from behind the scenes. He's absolutely not.
He's out.
In fact, he's tried to show up at some conferences, and they've called the cops on him.
He does still own property not far from. He still owns his house in Chicago, and he still has property near the Big Sandy stuff. From what I've told. Yep.
Yeah, but he's
actually suing to get it back.
Yeah, he's not allowed, but he's not allowed really any influence over IBLP, and he tries so hard to reassert himself, and they're like, no. So,
which the crazy thing though is, if you think about it, is that he's out, but the teachings are still in, and all the teachings are what created Bill Gothard.
Absolutely, and it's funny because I think they very much have this like, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing, but it's one of those like, but I think the bathwater was so toxic it killed the baby. So like maybe this is like, maybe what all has come to light with Bill Gothard and everything that has happened is proof that these teachings are bad and toxic. And I honestly think that the fact that ATI has, like, their own business model has failed colossally, because the whole premise was that they would have families that would have tons and tons of kids, and then their kids would grow up and have lots of kids who would then join ATI, and they would raise their kids in ATI, and they had us commit to that at national conferences. I remember I was one of them who committed to raising my children in my quiverful family in ATI. And if that's not an earmarker of a cult, I don't know what it is. But the fact that so many of us have left should be also a red flag, and it's apparently not. But also, I just want to address the thing that I don't care if they are bringing in $10 million a year right now, according to Cult Watch or whatever. That's a fraction of what they used to bring in. So
they still have a lot of money. They just don't have the resources that they used to.
Right. It's
the Duggars. But if this is to give you any indication of how influential the Duggars are in this cult, they have purchased multiple planes from the IBLP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Duggars were, especially for a long time, were like the golden family of IBLP. And I mean, when I was in it, Josh is a few years younger than I am. So they were kind of just one of those families that people were somewhat aware of because Jim Bob was in politics at the time, and they did have a lot of kids, but they weren't like the Duggars yet. And
no, that didn't start until like the show.
Right. And now they kind of for a while were like this shining example of what ATI is. And I think they kind of loved the attention that they got. And now I'm almost surprised that they haven't been kicked out of ATI so that ATI can just distance themselves from.
I think they're too much of a financial incentive to them.
It could be.
It's their name is bringing in so many people.
It could be. Because there are enough people who are just so.
There are a lot of people in the ATI that don't like them.
Yeah, and there are enough people that are just bound and determined to believe that the Duggars can do no wrong, regardless.
So Tina says that the Duggar girls are not following the program. So I want to just clear this up. And just talk about who still goes to the seminar. If Josh and Anna were not in the situation that they are in, they would have been at the family conference like a week ago. John and Abby still aren't part of the cult. Jessa and Ben is not. Jessa will participate like with her parents. Jana did not go to the family conference, but hasn't in the last few years. But I don't know what that means. Joseph and Kendra generally go to the conferences. Jason was at the conference. James was at the conference. Justin and Claire were at the conference. Joy and Austin were not at the conference. And I'm trying to think. Josiah and Lauren were not at the conference. Am I missing someone? Jill and Derek haven't been a part of it in forever. Ginger is not a part of it. So some of the kids have left, but a lot of the kids are still there.
Yeah. And also I do want to point out that this kind of, I know a lot of ATI families with 8, 10, 12, 14 plus kids, and this level of retention in ATI is unusual. They don't usually all stay like that. They're usually kind of going off and doing their own things.
Like a lot of the Bates girls have left.
Yes, a lot of the Bates girls have left, which is awesome. And
in fact, several of them call it a cult.
Yeah, which is great. And that's what I'm used to with the large families. Like usually you don't have huge families like the Duggars where so many of their grown kids are still involved in ATI and IBLP. They're usually going off and doing their own things, and anywhere from totally I'm an atheist now to well, ATI had some good things, but I think it was just a little extreme, like the whole spectrum. But I don't usually see big families with the number of kids still involved as adults that the Duggars have.
Really? Someone I talked to that left, his family is still involved, and they were at the conference a couple weeks ago. His parents were like hanging out with the Duggars. And he's the only one in his family that left and is still not involved.
I saw a comment that you made along those lines, and that surprised me because of all of the families that I know.
That you know?
Yeah, because I know probably well over 200 families represented at least. That's a conservative estimate. And I don't know any like that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I was opening the chat up specifically for Dauntless, so I just removed you, not to be cruel. I just wanted her to come on because she's a former member of the ATI, and I felt like it would be a good thing for the people in the audience to hear her. But I would love to have you on, and I will add everyone back that I removed from this studio just as soon as we're done with this live stream, just to address that. Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay. So you were in the ATI from how long to how long again?
So we were in for 9 years, from So yeah, I was 13 to 22. So that would be 96 to 2005.
Is your whole family out?
Yeah, I was the only kid that was in because I was the youngest of 3 kids, and I was the only kid that was in. And after I left, my parents discovered I didn't become a terrible person without being under my dad's direct authority. They kind of slowly deprogrammed, and now they recognize that ATI was a cult. So yeah.
So what was it weird to go from normal life to like cult life if you were like 13?
Yeah, I think that honestly we joined in probably the worst stage of life for a kid to join.
Yeah.
Probably
It's around the same age that Katie Duggar was when she joined.
Yeah, and probably the ages of like 12 to 14 are like the worst because you are in that developmental stage where you're just kind of becoming the you're just kind of you're becoming an adult in your ways of thinking in some ways, but you're also very, very much still gullible and still a child, and you're still under your parent, like have years of being under your parents' authority, and you still don't know how to separate the good from the bad. And there's like you're starting to develop your own very individual identity.
Yeah.
But then going into ATI, it's all about family identity, and it's not about individual identity.
Yeah. So could you speak to that a little bit so people can understand like how you're not supposed to be an individual?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, and I'm
So, like, to give somebody sort of context as to why I feel like that aspect will help people understand why the Duggars, it's groupthink.
Yeah, everything happens like as a group and as a family.
Can you explain to them like the structure of like how it works with the family, like God first, then this, then that?
So you have this umbrella of protection, and that's basically the umbrella represents your authority, and essentially the ultimate authority is God. And then you have over the family unit, you have the father, and then under the umbrella is the mother with all of the kids. And the mother in very many ways is on the same level as the children. She is kind of half a step up, but she doesn't really have any real solid authority. Everything can be vetoed by the father. And
Here, I'm gonna get a photo of the umbrella so I can put it up for you guys.
Awesome. And
yeah, because she has no authority. She has to be underneath. If she's under her husband's authority.
Right. And she's if her husband is sinning and is outside of what God's will for him is, she is really not supposed to take. And Gothard says this specifically, especially in the advanced seminar. He goes on about this for like an hour. She's not supposed to take matters into her own hands.
Yeah, there's a counsel, a line of counsel they have to go through, like to figure, and they have to get permission to talk to someone outside of their husband, right?
Right. And she ends up having her hands tied, and she's supposed to be, it comes down to she's supposed to pray for him. And
so this is the umbrella for people that are wondering.
And she is supposed to pray that God brings him back into the fold, essentially.
Correct.
And if she goes out, like, this is kind of what Anna was referring to after all of the Ashley Madison stuff, when she said that she didn't leave because she thought that she felt like she would turn a bad situation into a disaster.
Right, because she would turn into witchcraft and Satan.
essentially, because the Bible says that rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So if you rebel against God's
Design.
yes, design for authority and everything, then you may as well go join a coven.
Which is, again, why they hate the gay people, because it's against God's design.
Exactly. Everything comes down to design. In fact, there's even a song called The 10 Unchangeables. And now that I've brought it up, I'm going to have it stuck in my head for like a week. So thank you for that. And
like when people, I feel like sometimes people do not believe me when I say that being gay is akin to witchcraft and a woman not obeying her husband is akin to witchcraft and Satan. Like, I feel people don't really understand the magnitude of that. But I watched nearly the entirety of the basic seminar. Just so you know, like, I did my due diligence and I went through the seminar. Like,
no, I mean, for me, like, as a 20-year-old, if I didn't turn my light out on time at night, that was rebellion, and that was akin to witchcraft. So, like, not joking here. Like, this is absolutely for real. You cannot make this stuff up. So the whole thing about the home is that everything's supposed to work as a family unit because God designed families. God didn't design individuals. God designed families. And because God designed families, excuse me as I go connect my phone to my charger. Because God designed families as a unit, families were supposed to live together essentially until the adult children got married. They were supposed to have, you didn't have like individual Bible verses that really stood out to you. You had family rhemas. A rhema being a specific verse. It's a Greek word, a specific verse that is something that God gives you as like something to live by. And I remember my mom and dad one day pointing out some specific Bible verse and saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a family rhema." And I was like, okay, that's nice. It doesn't really speak to me particularly. And I'm like 19 or 20. And they're like, no, it's a family rhema. It's for you too. It's for all of us. And I'm a strong introvert. My parents are both introverts too, so they should have known better. But for me, I would go into my room and I'd shut my door just for some recharging time.
yeah.
And my mom would come in and she'd open the door and she'd be like, "You're shutting yourself off from the family." No.
Yeah, because alone time. No.
Yeah, I'm recharging. I'm recharging my batteries. I'm also chronically ill. And I mean, it took me 30 years to get a diagnosis. I only finally got diagnosed this year. But I was sick for a really long time. And so sometimes just shutting the door and having some time by myself was a way for me to like rest, because we weren't allowed to do that either because that was lazy.
Yeah.
And I was young. So, you shouldn't be tired in the middle of the day.
Because you spend all your time learning your character qualities, right?
Right, exactly. And so, she would be like, you have such an independent spirit, which most people are like, oh, great. You have the 49 character qualities. Which
I have the deets.
Which all have a Bible verse that go along with them.
Yep.
And notice how they're put all into columns. Those are not like randomly placed. Those are all they're all put together in categories, and they're all put together by the IVLP's definition of gifts of the Spirit. So one category goes under mercies as a gift of the Spirit, or as a spiritual gift. One goes under servants. One goes under teachers, organizers, givers, prophets, and Oh my gosh, it's kind of ridiculous. And then during my
Yeah,
last,
in general, they're pretty ridiculous. Like obedience, freedom to be creative under the protection of the divinely appointed authority.
right?
You're free to be obedient.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of shit is that?
I know.
Joyfulness versus self-pity. The
Yes, they all have their
spontaneous,
voice.
the spontaneous enthusiasm of my spirit when my soul is in the
Fellowship of the Lord.
Lord.
Which I can't read this because I'm on my phone and it's too small, but I remembered that because I had to memorize all of them. So
Meekness.
oh God.
Yielding my personal
rights
and expectations
to God. Yeah. Yeah. And then the one that's a real problem for many of us who, anybody who still, is within Christianity is the definition of grace, which is the desire and power to do God's will. Because if you believe in grace-based salvation, and you go back to the verse in the New Testament that says it is by grace we are saved through faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. And you put in, it is by the desire and power to do God's will, that automatically makes it a works-based kind of salvation, not a like free gift, grace-based. And that completely changes the entire theology.
This is one too that I think is a problem with this cult is instant obedience.
Mm-hmm.
Self-control, instant obedience to the initial promptings of God's Spirit. So basically, you're taught that you're supposed to obey without thinking, which puts you in harm's way because you're supposed to obey your authority. Authority for a child is really anyone that's above them. Mm-hmm. And so if they're with an adult and the adult tells them to do something, regardless of what it is, they are to obey.
Yep.
So you lack boundaries, you lack understanding of what's right or wrong. Under the wrong authority, this can go sideways in a heartbeat.
Oh, and it does so many times. In fact, I remember, So I remember when I think I was 19 and I was in the adult Sunday school. Now, I went to an ATI church. Now, ATI churches, for those watching, they're not official ATI churches because there wasn't such a thing as an official ATI church, but there were random ATI churches around the country where basically...
That's what they did at the Duggars churches. They basically just watched seminars and videos.
Where the vast majority of the members either were currently or in the past enrolled in and heavily involved in ATI. And so in our church, I would say, probably at least 80% of our church in Cincinnati, and we had about 400 to 500 people in our church. At least probably 80% of our church, at least at some point, had been enrolled in ATI. And those that weren't currently enrolled were not enrolled because they had a problem with it. It was just they didn't re-enroll. And our pastor's family had been very involved and very prominent at one point. And the family that headed up the music was very prominent, and people would recognize their names right away if I said them. They played every year in Knoxville, and so our church was very much, it was always like all of these ATI IBLP principles, like women wore long skirts. It was nothing in the teachings diverged from ATI teachings. And when I remember...
And you're learning the wrong definitions of what words are.
Right, exactly. And I remember one day
So they're like, your language is these words, but these words are not, this is not the definition of self-control.
Exactly.
Obedience does not mean self-control.
And I remember one day in our adult Sunday school class, our pastor was saying that he was about to start a series on parenting adult children, because since we were basically an ATI church, we had so many families that had adult children living at home under their parents' authority. And I went up to him afterwards and just said, as an adult child living at home, there are two things that are really hard to deal with. And I don't remember what the one was, but the other one I said was guilty until proven innocent. And he looked at me, and I will never forget this. Again, I am like 19 years old, and he looked at me and he said, yes.
And you were paddled as an adult.
Yes, I was. They stopped spanking me the summer I turned 20. When they realized that I was probably autistic, which years later, surprise, I am. Finally got a diagnosis. But
why would an adult live at home? Because you're not allowed to leave your authority until you're married.
Yeah,
right?
And the pastor said, but as an adult or as a child, it is your responsibility to obey your parents. I was 19 and he said that to me. I basically told him there was abuse going on at home, and he told me, yeah, but it's your responsibility to obey. And also, to address that question a little bit more,
like Jana, just to give you, Jana cannot leave the authority of Jim Bob because he won't let her.
Yeah, and my parents, like, I didn't have a car. I didn't have access to a car. And I taught piano lessons, but my parents only allowed me to have a few students. And they only allowed me to charge $5 a lesson, which was far less than I could have charged. And my mom specifically, in so many words, looked me in the eye multiple times and said, we don't want you to make enough money to have the option of leaving.
It's not uncommon in this cult.
How else was I supposed to leave? I mean, I could have.
Well, in many ways, they're trying to make you an indentured servant.
Right.
And it's forced labor for the kids. In the larger families, the kids are not allowed to be children. You're not allowed to be a child. But a lot of people always ask about Jana. Like, why hasn't Jana moved out? I'm not lying when I say
she can't.
She can't. She is truly a prisoner in that house. She is not allowed to move out. She is 31 years old. Whoops. She's 31 years old, and she believes that she cannot leave or she'll be disobeying her father's authority.
Well, and ATI teaches that if you leave, then God will turn you over to Satan and allow Satan to torment you. So all sorts of bad things will happen. Yeah. And it'll all be your fault for leaving.
So a lot of people bring up that I need to cover other cults, and I say that I'm not covering other cults because I cover the IBLP. And if you want to learn about the Scientology stuff, watch Leah Remini or other people that cover Scientology. Right now, we're working on the IBLP.
Hey, guys, if you want to know the difference between a lot of different cults, you can listen to my podcast, because we're laying the foundation right now for IBLP, but we're actually going to be getting into some of these other cults fairly soon.
They all have, a lot of them have the very similar beliefs. A lot of them are patriarchal in structure. There's different models that the leaders are in terms of their authority, the authoritarian type of leader. Not all cults are bad. Just so you know, there's destructive cults and then there's cults, and not every cult is bad. I mean, it's a cult as a definition is a group of people. So, but authoritarian destructive cults, which is what the IBLP is a bad cult, and it's a sex cult,
more or less. It's not in the way that a lot of people think of it, but yeah, it is.
I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it's a sex cult. Men can do what they want. Men can have sex as much as they want. Men have full control over a woman's body. A woman is not allowed to have any body autonomy. If a woman is raped, it's her fault. And men allow men to do what they want to do, and they defend men, so there's no accountability.
Yeah. That's all true.
And victims of assault are made to believe that it's their fault and that their assault is a badge of honor for God.
Yeah, and let me also say, so this is stuff, like, I saw people discussing this in the chats too. This is all stuff that is explicitly and specifically taught in their counseling seminar, which is the seminar that they teach for, teenagers, because they're teaching teenagers how to counsel people who have been through trauma, because that makes sense, right? And when they get to people who have been molested or sexually essayed, they we're taught, like, it doesn't matter what happened to their body. It's their fault if they were wearing something suggestive, if they were if they were putting themselves in a compromising situation, if they were out from under the protection of authority. It's not their fault if they cried out, if they were
there's a whole list of they have a whole wisdom book about it.
Yeah, and then also they say that really at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much what somebody does to your body, because you as a person comprise of 3 parts, and that's your spirit, soul, and your body. And your spirit is the most important. Your soul is the seat of your emotions, and that's the second most important. But your body is just your body. It's just your shell, and it has nothing to do with anything else. And so if somebody violates that, well, big whoop. And like, you might think I'm exaggerating this, guys, but I'm not.
Which is so ironic, because they're so hell-bent on purity.
I know. Like, why does that matter? If
your body is just, it doesn't matter what happens to your body, then why does it matter if you have sex outside of marriage?
I know, or like with another woman or man with a man.
It's just your body.
Right.
Who cares?
It's there's a whole lot of doublespeak going on.
Mental gymnastics is what I call it.
Oh, there's so much of that. But yeah, and yes, they do absolutely, like, if a girl or a child or, the victim was in any way breaking any of these rules or protocols, then they do make them apologize to the abuser, because they're the ones that made the abuser fall.
Yeah, they made Josh stumble. Anna made Josh stumble. Anna blamed herself. Anna said that it was her fault. She wasn't
a good enough wife. Because if she was a good enough wife and she was fulfilling enough, he wouldn't have gone elsewhere.
Well, and remember how she said she prayed and she was doing all these stuff for God, and it really puts a woman into a martyr. And a lot of the women in this cult thrive off the power they get of being martyrs.
Absolutely.
They get a martyr complex, and they think if they're the godliest woman out there, if they're the best, they can, what kind of control does that give to a woman? And I'm not saying the woman is ultimately a victim, but some of the women do develop the martyr complex.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's why some people like Anna might double down and dig in their heels in situations like this, because
she feels like if she's faithful enough.
Yeah. And gosh, if her life is hell on earth, then at least she'll reap her reward in heaven, and she'll be danged if she didn't do everything she was supposed to do.
It's wild. All right. So she says mental gymnastics. I can't lie. I'll probably use that phrase now from time to time. Yes. Tiffany says that she's 38 and still at home. Are you in this cult, Tiffany? That's wild. So yeah, it's quite the it's what's the name of your podcast?
It's called Leaving the Village.
Leaving the Village.
It's on pretty much every platform.
All right. The blaming the victims part is the grossest part. All right. So Kim is out. Okay. So we are going to, oh my God, I'm 2 hours into this and I haven't even talked about the Brian Laundrie stuff. All right. I got to move on to the next topic. So thanks for joining me, Kathleen.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry for interrupting if I did.
Oh, you're fine.
We had so much to cover. You are always.
As I've said, it's your show. You get to put it in whatever direction you want to.
No, I'm just trying to Leaving the Village, Dauntless's life. Leaving the Village. So she does a great job. She has a wonderful podcast partner, and then she is connected to a lot of other survivors of the IBLP. All of their experiences are extremely they all have overlapping experiences, but every single person has a unique experience in that some people like her are older when their parents join. There are others that are born into it. So everybody comes from a different sort of place in terms of how into their family, how in it their families were. Yep. The Duggars are in it.
Yeah, the Duggars are in it. My family was pretty dang in it, but not quite to the Duggar level. So.
Okay, there are no people of color in the IBLP.
That's not true.
That's not true, but Bill Gothard was a raging racist for sure.
He was. I actually know people of color who have been in the IBLP. I absolutely know that this is.
But I think it would be inherently irresponsible to not address the elephant in the room that the ATI wisdom books are inherently racist.
Absolutely.
They do teach that the social justice is wrong. They have a horrible view on what racism is. They believe the Confederacy should have won. So yes, they do end up breeding white supremacists with their cult for sure. And they breed them through massive indoctrination. And it's not just indoctrination to, it's building an army for God, but it's building an army to take over the country, take over the government. It's very calculated.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, oh God, you guys, I'm 2 hours in. I have got to take a second to refresh my water. Are you guys still here for a minute? Do we want to get to the Brian Laundrie stuff? Do we want to move on? Do we not want to move on? I try not to do these super long streams. Yes, I'm Brian. Okay. I need to I need to use the restroom. Okay. And then I need to change my shirt because I need to put on a t-shirt because I'm really hot. So give me 5 minutes and then we will keep going. All right. All right, you guys. Whew, I was hot. Got my t-shirt on. I even put shorts on. Like, that's how hot I was. There are times where the lights, I know it's an LED light, but for some reason it gets so hot sometimes in here. Okay. So let's move on to the Brian Laundrie stuff. I don't really know how much longer I'm going to stream, but I definitely don't want to like clickbait because we absolutely have to cover this. And I think that one of the things, now I'm cold. Oh my gosh. Am I going through menopause? No, I'm not going through menopause. That's a joke. Okay. It's 7 degrees outside. Okay, I got my Pink Floyd shirt on. All right. Let's go. I have my fan on. Okay. Let us go. Let's be nice and chat to each other. And I don't want to have to turn this on to members only. All right, so let's talk about this. Last night, there was an interview on NBC with Bertolino, and I am like, I'm dying, you guys. I am of this belief that Bertolino has legit lost, like, I don't know what's going on with him.
Steve, first off, thanks for joining Top Story tonight.
Okay, so this is the Bertolino interview, right? So he is so angry, you guys. He is so mad. I've never seen someone so angry in my entire life as I did when I was watching the interviews with Bertolino last night. And this is the thing I will say. When you have a lawyer, you need to be able to establish a professional relationship with your lawyer. Your lawyer should be someone that will go to bat for you. But when your lawyer is your friend and in a situation like this cannot be objective and is putting their personal feelings to the extent of the detriment of the case, which I believe is what's happening here. He is watching his friends get attacked, and he's angry that his friends get attacked. I will tell you something about being smeared in the media. I'm not like the Laundries, but I get my fair share of shit. If my attorneys were acting like Bertolino was last night, my attorneys would be fired. I would never allow my attorneys to behave like this to the media. I would never want my attorneys to speak degrading to women, to chew out anchors, to be rude to people. I would want my attorney to hold their self with integrity, to have an element of class. Like, yes, your attorney should be your bulldog, but your attorney should not care about the court of public opinion. Because you will never hear my attorney going on an interview and trying to defend me against the bullshit conspiracies that are online, nor will my attorney spend 5 seconds of his day yelling about the conspiracies to the news anchors. It just doesn't make any sense. All right. So he asks some serious questions here.
Pundits on CNN.
Here. Anytime he's asked about the Gabby case, he refuses to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about anything to do with Gabby. So watch this.
Petito and ultimately her death. You know, the Petito family has been very critical of the Laundrie. So I want to play you a short clip of the Petito family. I want to get your reaction on the other end.
So he's going to play him a clip of what they're going to watch is going to be of Nicole saying that she wants a face-to-face interview here. Now, in the she just wants to ask them why. So listen to this.
Probably, if not everything, they know most of the information. I would love to just deface ask, why are you doing this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just tell me the truth.
Wrong video. Sorry, guys. Here we
The
go.
information. I would love to just face-to-face ask, why are you doing this? Just tell me the truth.
So that is the question, is what would you say to Nicole? So this is, I want the truth. Watch his answer. It has literally nothing to do with what she said.
You know this family. You're representing them. How would you describe the Laundrie's interaction with law enforcement?
So, as I mentioned a couple of times today to other news organizations, today is not the day to discuss the Gabby Petito case. I understand that was the impetus, that is the reason why all this is happening. But that doesn't explain why people come up with these nonsensical theories as to yesterday's events and some other events. It doesn't.
Nobody brought up the nonsensical theories, Bertolino. Not one person. I don't remember Chris. He's got the best poker face though, right? I've never seen this guy before, but how the fuck are you going to change your story from, and I've got the F-bombs, we're 2 hours into this, but how are you going to change it from, I just want to know the truth, to what he's talking about? He's going to start talking about the conspiracies that are online. And he's going to start screaming and yelling about the conspiracies online. And he's not going to answer a damn thing about Gabby. And he calls it the Gabby Petito case. It's not the Gabby Petito case, you guys. It's a fucking murder. Gabby Petito was murdered. And it wasn't the impetus. Nobody would have given a shit about Mr. Bertolino if Brian Laundrie wouldn't have murdered Gabby Petito. But he's trying to make this all about the Laundries. Oh, he did say he was grieving. Yes, I saw that.
Explain, Tom, why.
No, I'm not on my second glass of wine. My wine is empty. And if you have a problem with people having a glass of wine, get the fuck out of my chat, Jasper.
Major news organizations just yesterday on Fox News, an anchor was accusing me of communicating with Brian with a burner phone until his solar power ran out and I could no longer communicate.
So he's mad about being accused of using a burner phone on Fox News. Since when is Fox News the integral news source for unbiased news? They're not. They're Fox News. They're barely practically factual 80% of the time. So, what does that have to do again with the question he asked about Gabby? What does that have to do with the question he asked about Gabby? What does him being accused of using a burner phone have to do with Gabby?
That was from an anchor. You had pundits on CNN just last night with all kinds of theories. So my anger and my frustration, and when I say when does it stop, what I'm saying is when does it stop that these conjecturists, these theorists, people who have no firsthand knowledge, and specifically with yesterday's events.
What does this have to do with his fucking question about Gabby Petito? What kind of mental gymnastics, Bill Gothard cult leader quota is he on that he turned this in to him being attacked for using a burner phone? Has he even answered the question? Right? Did he answer the question? Fox News is actually not a news channel. They are an entertainment one. That is correct.
You have people with firsthand knowledge telling you how this played out, and yet people still don't believe it. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm not.
Okay, so you still haven't answered the fucking question about Gabby Petito. He didn't answer the question before he put the answer question he wanted to answer. Yeah, he didn't answer the question. Nancy Grace has literally lost her mind in her older age. I cannot stand her anymore.
I talk about the Petito family. They suffered. No, Tom, let me finish. Yeah. They suffered a grave loss. And on September 14th, when I first went on video, I said there are two families here that have suffered a great tragedy. There are two young people that have now lost their lives.
When I went on camera on September 14th, I said there are two families that have gone through a tragedy and there are two families that have lost their lives. What? Nobody knew that Brian was dead on September 14th. Bertolino, what's with your loose lips? Where's the tragedy? Where's the tragedy?
There are parents that are suffering. Now, I understand that. Whatever happened or whatever didn't happen, whatever people know, this is tragic for two families.
No. No, it's not the same. No. No. Gabby was murdered. Brian wasn't murdered. Gabby was murdered. Brian likely, we will never know because they can't do a cause of death. His skeletal remains, there was nothing for them to actually determine a cause. The cause of death. Can you guys stop talking about CNN in the chat? Like, let it go. Like, seriously, it's nonsensical, and I don't like the arguments. Who freaking cares? Just drop the shit with CNN. Let it go. If you guys don't know by now, I'm a fucking liberal. If you don't like it that I'm a liberal, that's fine. I don't care if you like Fox News. Me saying that Fox News actually is not a news station is not actually a lie. It has an entertainment license. It does not have a license for news. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care what you watch. I made a comment. Move on, everyone. All right? Let's talk about what's happening here. Jelly Donuts, you are leaving my chat. You're not really a fan. Okay. But he just admitted that they knew she was dead on the 14th, and that was before her body was found. Did you hear that?
They suffered a grave loss. And on September 14th, when I first went on video, I said there are two families here that have suffered a great tragedy. There are two young people that have now lost their lives.
We didn't know that she was dead on September 14th. How did he know that she was dead on September 14th? How did he know that? How did he know that Gabby was dead on September 14th?
Of what may or may not have been done differently.
Steve, do you think your clients, the Laundries, Brian's parents, will eventually be charged with crime?
Oh, check this out.
I can tell you no.
Okay, he asked them if a deal was made for immunity. So check this out. Why would parents be represented? You don't need a lawyer if you're not under investigation. Why do you have an attorney? This is the first time we actually hear him admit that the FBI had conversations with him about potential charges against his clients. And then he says, was it misdemeanors? Was it felonies? I'll tell you from experience, the FBI doesn't play with misdemeanors. If the FBI is talking about charges, they're going to be talking about the big F. Misdemeanors are state crimes. The FBI doesn't fuck with misdemeanors because it costs so much money to prosecute a federal case. They're only going to charge felonies. So you mean to tell me that you met with the FBI and you can't remember the charges that they brought? Yeah.
No truth to that. What I can tell you is that conversations were had several weeks ago with the FBI with respect to certain charges. When questioned and when communications were had between myself and the FBI, I think it was realized that charges were not appropriate. There was never a threat. There was never a coercion. There was never a deal cut.
He does not buy it. This guy has the best poker face. Like, I don't even know who he is, but I want to marry his poker face. There was never a threat. There was never a coercion. It doesn't matter, Mr. Bertolino. You just admitted that the FBI called you up and they wanted to talk to you about charges. They wanted to talk to you about charges for your clients, and they decided that the charges might not be appropriate. I don't think the FBI would actually tell you that. They might say that, but you don't know that. Why would the FBI calling your clients about charges? That's weird. Is that why they have a lawyer? Are you admitting that your clients are under investigation by the FBI?
But
we're talking about misdemeanor charges,
would not have been...
Steve, misdemeanor or felony charges?
I don't know what level of crime or charge was in the mix.
I don't know what level or crime or charges were in the mix. He's full of shit. He knows what those feds were talking to him about. You cannot tell me that he suddenly can't remember what the feds were saying to his clients. You know the feds were talking to him about something: obstruction of justice, lying to authorities, aiding and abetting, destruction of evidence.
What I can tell you is there were conversations that were had, and I definitely want to be clear. There was no threat. There was no coercion on behalf of the FBI. There was no deals. There were certainly conversations, as one would expect happens in every criminal case.
Okay, no. Conversations don't have, and I'm going to say this out loud to the people in back. If you're not fucking guilty, if you're not under investigation, the feds aren't telling you about charges they might bring against you. If you're a victim, they might tell you about the charges they're looking to bring against the perpetrator, but they're not victims. Their son is the person of interest, and they're the ones that were not cooperating with authorities. I spoke with Gabby's cousin today. We are both lawyers and used to work together. We both agree with you 100%. Thank you, Athena. The FBI is not talking to them about just hanging out. You're not having conversations with the fucking prosecutors. I'm sorry, that's not how it works.
You always have conversations with the prosecutors about how the case may play out, as to what may be on the table, so to speak.
No, you don't. Only if you're on being investigated. Only if you're only talking to the fucking prosecutor if you're under investigation and there might be a criminal indictment or a grand jury. If you're the victim, you're not talking to the prosecutor about what kind of deals are on the table. If you're the innocent person not involved in the case, why would you be talking to the prosecutors or the FBI? This is why they're lawyered up. I doubt it. I believe wholeheartedly that this case, I got to turn my camera off real quick here, but I believe wholeheartedly that this case is going to end up in a position where they're not going to be able to adjudicate Brian. They're not going to be able to adjudicate this case. They're going to try to find someone to charge for this because this case is so big. It's gotten so much media attention that they're needing to provide some level of justice. And their press releases about this case have stated repeatedly that they will hold people responsible who helped after the fact. So in my opinion, I do think there could be charges if the FBI is talking to them about that. But the fact that this guy this person says the baloney, they're only talking to you if they're going to charge you with something. The parents help their son, in my opinion. Oh, yay, the trolls have arrived. Yes. Who said something? I had... Oh, hold on, I have to delete my... Okay. My memory card was full. I just had to turn that on. Sorry. Okay. The whole grieving thing stuck in my throat. Yes. So there's a whole, let me find you the video on the grieving. So that was the end of the FBI one. All right. Here's the video about the grieving that is just wild. All right, so here's this video.
At the very beginning of this, they said they feared that he may have injured himself. Is that an accurate statement? I'm trying to think back.
Brian was not, and you were the person who I interviewed with on September 14th.
Yes.
And, I said on that day that this was tragic, the two families were grieving. Chris and Roberta knew
that two families were grieving on September 14th. 5 days before Gabby's body was found.
Their son Brian was grieving. They knew he was so upset. Brian was grieving. Chris and Roberta knew that their son Brian was grieving. They knew he was so upset. And, they just couldn't control that he was leaving, and he left. He walked out the door. And Chris has said to me, I wish I could have stopped him, but I couldn't.
Brian was grieving 5 days before the body was found. What? Gabby Petito's family was not grieving yet. They were worried. They were concerned. No, you're not grieving when your child is missing. Grieving implies loss. You grieve when you know the loss has happened. until Gabby's body was found, they were not grieving her death. They grieved once they found out she had been killed. Up until that point, they were hoping she was alive. They had fears that she was dead, but until they knew for sure, they were not grieving. Brian was grieving only, in my opinion, because he knew what he had done. You don't grieve when your kids are missing. That's the wrong word. He did put his foot in the mouth. Let me show that you again.
That day that this was tragic, the two families were grieving. Chris and Roberta knew that their son Brian was grieving. They knew he was so upset. And, they just couldn't control that he was leaving, and he left. He walked out the door. Chris has said to me, I wish I could have stopped him, but I couldn't. He was 22 years old. He's walking out the door. So, yeah, they suspected that he may have hurt himself. And whether or not that's confirmed, remains to be seen.
He's grieving. How does he know he's grieving? Can someone explain to me how you know someone's grieving? Right? The lawyer is a joke. Okay. So, did you guys see the News Nation? Because he was so rude to Marnie. Of all of the news anchors that interviewed him, he was hands down 1,000,000,000% misogynistic, disgusting, and horrible to Marnie. I felt so bad for the way he treated Marnie.
So to be clear, I talked with the Laundries at least
so extensively by FBI professionals over the last 4 or 5.
very difficult. We talked about it. I said it absolutely is a good idea, and it's fine. You should go. But are you?
Did they ask you to contact the police?
No, they did not. Obviously, I'm sorry. We were speaking over one another. Can you repeat that?
Yes, of course. You have suggested that any.
Hold on, I gotta find the part where she's.
Aggravating how maddening it is to even hear those things, and
Okay, listen to this.
I thought I was very clear in just explaining to you why. If
Here it is. Sorry.
with an independent reporter and a representative of law enforcement from a local agency, a representative from the FBI being present, and you still have these nonsensical people putting forth ideas that certain items were planted.
You've called that.
So he's like going off on her again about these trolls online spreading these conspiracies.
You've called the suggestion that items were planted were hogwash. Why is that?
I'm sorry, we were speaking over one another. Can you repeat that?
Yes, of course. You have suggested that any claims that the Laundrie's planted items in the reserve is hogwash. Why?
Marnie, I thought I was very clear just explaining to you why. If you've got the FBI, the local PD.
Could he be any more condescending there? Look at that face.
An independent news reporter, all there at the same time, seeing the same thing. You've got quote unquote surveillance of the Laundries 24/7 by protesters and people of the press. When did you think these items were planted? And do you really think the Laundries had skeletal remains of their son, in a plastic bag and brought them to the preserve? Do you realize how ludicrous that is? How aggravating, how maddening it is to even hear those things? And the fact that it's being put out there by the press as well?
I mean, you guys, it's a stupid question. I mean, I can understand why it's being asked, but it's a dumb question to ask. Why are you asking them about it being planted? The FBI was there. The freaking Fox News. I actually agree with Bertolino that it's a dumb question to be asked, but at the same time, why can't you just answer the question without being a dickhead? I mean, there's that option.
That's where my level of frustration and anger is coming from. Maybe somebody with a platform should step up and say, hey, knock it off. This is just silly. So if I'm the only one who has to say that this is hogwash because I didn't want to say the word bullshit, then I'm going to say it. It's bull. And if John Q. Public doesn't get that.
He's like going off, y'all.
He is now no longer with them. At some point in time in the future, there may be more information as what I felt, what the Laundries felt, what we, quote, ethically, thought about the case. Now is not the time to do that. You've asked me the question 2 or 3 times. I'm going to respectfully tell you again, it's not the time to discuss that.
Have the Laundries reached out to the Petito family at all? And has the Petito family reached out to them?
So how is it that you're not going to answer any questions about Gabby Petito? Did you guys see George Stephanopoulos try to take him to town today? Let me see if I can find it here. So George Stephanopoulos also had a conversation with him today. This man was like diarrhea of the mouth. I would fire him if I were the Laundries.
Brian tell the Laundries anything about what happened to Gabby where he disappeared?
Not something I can comment on right now, and I'd like to just leave it at that.
Did Brian tell the Laundries about what happened to Gabby? It's not something I can comment on right now, and I'm just going to leave it at that. You're not going to comment on if Brian told his parents anything about Gabby.
You can't comment on it. It means you know something about her.
That's the best response. George says this. Listen to this.
It means you know something about her. Well, if you can't comment on it, it means you know something about her.
Well, I think everybody out there knows that, whether the family or myself have some information to share, but, there's not much we can say at this point in time. And, I'm going to leave it at no comment.
Is that because they've been cooperating with the FBI?
I'm sorry, did you say because we were cooperating?
Because you're...
Did you hear that? I'm sorry. Did you hear that? Come on. Go. Go, go, go. Come on. Come on. Sorry. Frida wanted to go out. Okay. I'm sorry. Did you say we were cooperating? He's so arrogant that he's you're lying that we're cooperating. But this is the part that literally got under my skin. Listen to this.
Because the family is cooperating with the FBI?
Well, George, I've been quite clear on this from the very beginning. When it comes to the FBI, we have absolutely nothing to say with respect to the Gabby Petito incident.
When it comes to the FBI, we have nothing to say about the Gabby Petito incident. He did not just call what happened to Gabby an incident. An incident. We have nothing to say to the FBI about the Gabby Petito incident.
Very beginning, when it comes to the FBI, we have absolutely nothing to say with respect to the Gabby Petito incident. With respect to Brian, we've been cooperating from day one. And, those are two different, from a legal perspective, those are two different scenarios. One was the missing persons with Brian. One was the missing persons with Gabby.
Brian tell the laundry anything about?
Okay, so we will not answer any questions about what Brian told him or what Brian told his parents. He refers to the Gabby Petito's murder as an incident, and he boasts that he is not cooperating with them. I'm not cooperating with them about the Gabby Petito incident. If you were the Laundries, would you be impressed with your attorney? Plot twist, Bertolino did it. Maybe. If you were the Laundries, would you be satisfied with this? Why are you not helping? Why are you so boastfully not cooperating when it comes to the Gabby Petito incident? It was his remains. Yeah, exactly. So this is ridiculous. I think the more my 23-year-old walks out the door, I think he may hurt himself. I follow my child. I don't say he's 23 years old and I had nothing I could do, please. So if you're telling me that your child is grieving, he's upset, he's so upset, he walks out the door, you can't stop him from walking out the door, you know that the feds are watching him, you know that the police are watching him, you know that he's he's got the eyes of the world under him, and you let him walk out the door and you can't stop him. These parents are they have the worst attorney and the worst judgment. Is it any surprise that Brian turned out to be the maniac that he is? I know, if only they were. Nothing, they said that they cannot determine the cause of death. So here's the thing. I think it would be ridiculous to assume he was murdered. I think it's safe to say that Brian left the house. There's skeletal remains. We won't know an official cause of death. But every news outlet that I have seen ask Bertolino questions. The question is all the same. How do you think he killed himself? I think it's pretty clear, given the totality of the situation, that Brian did not die from a murder. Brian did not die from a bite from a snake. Brian went to the reserve with one goal only, and that was to kill himself. That was it. He went there with one purpose in mind. He was under investigation. Everything was coming down on him. He knew he was about to get arrested. He knew he was going to have to answer for what he did to Gabby. He knew that the police were looking at him. He knew the FBI was asking questions. He had two choices. He was either going to turn himself in and go to jail, or he was going to take the easy way out and kill himself. It's like a delayed murder-suicide. Why would he have the dry bag in the backpack? Because he has that anyway. He's going to go hiking. Why would he not have that? Maybe he planned to go hiking for a couple days and then he was going to kill himself. Who knows? But he went there with a purpose. Nobody killed him. It wasn't an accident. He's only a mile into the reserve. Only a mile. If he was on the run and hiding, he would have been further into the reserve. He would have been somewhere totally else. This is, to me, indicative of someone that walked into the reserve and ended it. He was a mile into the reserve. So, yeah, they did say the notebook is salvageable. So maybe we'll have some answers from the notebook. So the notebook is salvageable. They will not be able to get a cause of death because the remains are so deteriorated. The remains have gone to an anthropologist. And let's see. Let me see here. Here are the notes that I have from Brian Enton today. That says, notebook they believe is salvageable. They think it's purely a coincidence that the Laundries found Brian's personal items. Police never followed Brian in the Mustang when he went to the reserve. And they were disputing Laundrie's attorney's claims that they told police when Brian was missing. And yeah. So Cassie let us know that she said, I lost my brother. As someone whose brothers passed away, that is what you say. I lost my brother. She never makes, you never said my brother is missing until the third interview. They knew he was upset. They knew that he had plans to do this. I don't think we'll know the date that it happened. I don't think we'll know the means of how he did it. I mean, they knew. Bertolino said it for weeks. They believed he went there to harm himself. Any other insinuation that something else happened to me would be ridiculous because they knew that he went there with one agenda. And it's almost like they didn't care. They let him go there because, well, he's either going to go there or he's going to go to prison and he's going to get the death penalty. Suicide by alligator, she says. I don't know. No, his dad found a dry bag. Well, that's my opinion. If you don't like my opinion, you don't have to watch. All right. My opinion is that he committed suicide. That's my opinion. My opinion. You don't have to have my opinion. We don't have the facts. We're never going to have the facts. They're never going to be able to give us the facts. They flat out said that today, that there are no cause of death. We don't know the cause of death because the remains were skeletons. They don't. Where have I said it's not? When did I say it was a fact? Where did I say it was a fact, Newfie? It's my opinion that he committed suicide. That's my opinion. We will never know what happened to him. I never said it was a fact. If I could factually say that it was true, I would, but I didn't. All right. To me, it's just common sense that this is what happened. I don't have the facts on this. So unfortunately, that's where we're at. So Bertolino has lost his ever-loving mind. He has lost his ever-loving ability to reason. He is taking this way too personally. And I think, you know, in general, overall, it's going to be an uphill battle. I don't know if we're ever going to know what happened to Brian. I don't know if we're ever going to know what happened to Gabby. I do think that the parents have answers that we might need. I think they know more than they're leading on. And I hope that they stop being so pompous and excited that they're not cooperating with authorities. I think it's arrogant and irritating to call Gabby Petito's murder an incident. I'm just angry. So as a reminder, we did a $1,000 donation to the Gabby Petito Foundation today, which was because that's what this is about. It has never been about making money off of her name. We always do our best to give back a certain percentage of everything that we make on this channel. We could not give back without your support, without your super chats, and because of all of your amazing interactions on these videos and sharing and your conversations and your super chats, we have been able to donate $3,000 this month, $2,000 to the Gabby Petito Foundation, and $1,000 to the Hotline for Domestic Violence. I do not disclose this to brag, to boast. I'm disclosing this as transparency and to say thank you, that I would not be able to donate this money without you. You guys contribute through super chats, through memberships, through watching. So anything that I'm donating, just know that your help, you are a part of every donation that we make. Everything that you do to contribute to this community helps us help other people. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for being a member. Thank you for the super chats. We wouldn't do this if we weren't passionate about it. It's never been about money. It's never been about anything like that. Like, I don't care to make a dime on these kinds of stories. I want justice. I want to raise awareness for this kind of stuff. Suicide by alligator is apparently very popular in Louisiana. Who knew? And just for the record, if you're out there watching, other contributors, other people that are covering these stories, it's nobody's business if people decide to donate or not. It's not anybody's decision to decide how one creator decides to manage their channel and the content that they wish to make. I think everyone needs to remember that this is YouTube, meaning you too can start a channel if you're pissed off and you want to start talking about a topic. And if you're going to start criticizing people for what they do on their channels, make sure that you're doing what you are criticizing them for. So if you're running your mouth about people not donating money, then you better be donating money. You should be posting your receipts, and you should also be holding everyone accountable to the same standards and stop being a misogynist and always coming after me. So we will always donate. We've always donated. We're not going to be accused of not donating, and we're not going to be put in a position where we're told that we're only donating because you all yelled at me for donating, when I was clear from the beginning that we were always donating money to the Gabby Petito Foundation. All right. I will also never stop being me. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, I would say, why don't you create, and Birdie and the Laundries should get the gator food. Yeah, I don't know about that. But if you wish to donate and you feel compelled to donate, you can go to GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. You can send donations through PayPal. You can also make donations on my Instagram directly to the hotline. I'm running a fundraiser for the hotline. So if you want to make a direct donation to the hotline through Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram. You can donate directly to the hotline. I've already donated $1,000 to the hotline, which is for domestic violence survivors. And then every single month we do something where we donate money. I hope you guys feel compelled to also donate, because you shouldn't just talk about things that matter to you. You should also make a difference. And if you can't donate, donate your time and volunteer and do something to help people that are in need. You can get involved in charity. You can donate your clothes to women's shelters. You can, food banks need food right now. There's so many ways that you can give back right now. It's so easy to be hateful online. It's so easy to get mad about everything that's going on online. It takes 2 seconds to do something good that will help somebody else have a better life and help someone out of a serious situation. All right. So I want to thank you guys for all being here with me tonight, for all of the curse words, for all of the yelling, for all of the screaming. I'm never going to stop being me. I hope you never stop being you. I'm never not going to be me. You never stop being you. Don't be afraid to speak your mind, speak your truth, and don't be afraid to get sued by narcissists, because narcissists are always going to narcissist. Bye, guys.